Hey, it's Marco from FightingSecrets.com, and yes, I am producing a self-defense video. If you go online and look up self-defense tips, some of the stuff actually is quite frightening when you think about it. And if you're a martial artist thinking I'm going to just show you some robotic moves on how to get out of a rear choke or whatever, or compare my movements to your style, whether it be karate or Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Kyokushin or whatever, what I've tried to do is something that's a little bit more timeless or transcends martial arts styles, even time for that matter, because there is a lot of faddish things that go in and out of popularity. So that's why I called it my self-defense commandments. Just like the 10 commandments are timeless and transcend all religions and styles, I think these concepts do as well when it comes to self-defense. The first one I call situational awareness. Now, take a look at these few videos I'm going to put online right now on this tape, and just tell me there aren't a lot of sick motherfuckers out there right now. Crime is spiraling out of control, cashless bail, just a lack of enforcement. I don't know what's going on, especially in the urban cities. I work in New York City, and I try to visualize my daughters or my son, maybe if they want to go out and meet with friends, I'm constantly screaming at them, please be careful, watch who you're talking to, scan the perimeter, just watch out. So check this out, and let's continue with the dialogue.
Dragging her, no
just
train
watch
was coming
this.
at the time.
Every time I see this,
she
I
managed
get
to climb
so
off the
pissed.
tracks
That could be
on
my
her own
daughter,
and was not seriously
sister,
injured.
mother.
Police now say they didn't make the video.
Is now accused of the
Look at
same
this.
crime in Queens.
She could have hit her head. Serious injury right there, even though it wasn't on the tracks.
Thanks to
Check this out.
passengers
This
of the
guy just
station,
barely
Crossy was
made
detained
it,
and
turned
then
around,
later
and then
arrested.
everybody just jumped. This one's even sicker. This guy pushes this woman over. She actually survived. Watch, the train went right over her, and the cops right there, too. Talking about cops, even they're not safe on the subway. Crazy. So when I mean situational awareness, there's a sixth sense. I mean, obviously everybody's familiar with taste, smell, hearing, vision, and touch, physical. We have an extrasensory perception. Now, if you were walking down the stairs, for example, of a subway platform, you have the clearest line of vision right there. You need to immediately assess weak points, vulnerable targets, suspicious-looking people. I mean, you literally have to walk around as if you're wearing a suit of armor and completely ready for war. I hate to say it, it's just the way it is. What extends into that is also the concept of, the sucker punch, which you'll see some videos there, but situational awareness and knowing your environment. You're walking into a bar, I mean, even a Dunkin' Donuts. Imagine a mass shooter coming in. Can I get over the counter quick? Is there a rear egress that I can get out of? All these things are important. Just going shopping and going to work. It's the harsh reality of today. Situational awareness, self-defense commandment number 1. Okay, next, after situational awareness, how to choke someone into unconsciousness. Yes, you should be able to choke someone into unconsciousness. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Choking someone out is the ultimate way to shut someone down. I mean, you've been hearing about it lately in the news or in the mainstream media with cops, and how choking and strangulation is banned in law enforcement, and there's a reason for that. Some people get at it. Actually, if you apply a choke in a law enforcement situation and the guy feigns unconsciousness and the cop lets go, he can get away. It's not so much that the technique itself could kill that person, but it could, the guy can fake it and then turn into a real ugly situation. But I remember younger, growing up, friends hung out, drank or whatever. I saw one guy literally get hit over the head with a beer mug. I mean, the bottom of that thing was this thick. I mean, obviously there would have been a correct way to use it to knock the guy out, but literally in a fight, the mug broke over the guy's head, and he still came back fighting. Okay, same thing. Somebody breaks an arm or twists an ankle or whatever, the adrenaline rush, he's still coming at you. Even that's why I'm a little apprehensive sometimes about arm locks and wrist locks in a self-defense fight for your life situation, because a person can still fight with a broken joint. But if you take him out and render him unconscious, that is the most effective. It's totally shutting down the system, which allows you to get. Now, I'm not saying you should be able to work your way and work into entries into a choking situation if you're getting into a street fight, but you may find the opportunity to apply a fight. Now, I selectively picked 2 chokes. And what's funny is on one of the catch wrestling sites that I follow, somebody posted a wood carving from the 1500s of a depiction of Hercules doing a guillotine choke on a lion. That's the 1500s. That's way before Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu 1700s, 1800s, Kano. So the front choke. So I believe you need to master at least 2 chokes. The rear naked choke and the guillotine choke. Guillotine choke, somebody tackles you, whatever, provides an opportunity with his head down, somebody coming in growling or whatever, you can nullify it right away with the guillotine choke. The rear naked choke, should somebody throw a punch and you were able to get out of the way and the momentum spins him around and you can get to the back, apply the rear naked choke. Don't try to hit him. Put him out and get out. Or if you can run before that happens. But I will tell you, you need to know at least 2 chokes. The rear naked choke and the guillotine choke, and whether you can attack the air, meaning the windpipe, which is even damaging, more serious, or the wind version of it, where you're just rendering them conscious with the blood supply. Number 2, choking someone into unconsciousness. Rear naked choke, guillotine choke. Guillotine choke by Hercules, 1566 depiction. Wild. This was a dumb move by the security guard, but it only took seconds to render this kid unconscious. They do work. It looked a lot worse. He was dragged outside, he regained consciousness, and went home.
Bring my arm around. But in this situation, notice how tight my right hand stays against his neck. Almost difficult to get gripping around the neck. I engulf his neck very tightly. Minimal pressure is needed to apply the choke. In this case here, you can see that a simple palm-to-palm variation can be just as effective, as well as the vice choke. Remember, the key is to bring the 2 elbows together and then tensing and squeezing simultaneously. Now we're looking at what I call the lever choke. Notice here, when I bring my hand across, I want to bring the blade weapon directly on the target area, which in this instance is the windpipe. I stabilize his head with my chest, and then, so as he comes in, I neutralize and then work into it. There you can see I'm using the palm-to-palm because I felt it was appropriate there. So I neutralized his forward momentum and then worked into it.
All right, so commandment number 3. Commandment number 3 is kind of an offshoot of the situational awareness. I mean, situational awareness is a broader picture. The sucker punch is something that brings into a lot of different concepts. Now, what is a sucker punch? I mean, the actual description, sucker punch, means you are caught off guard. So in theory, there's no block to a sucker punch because you got sucker punched. You didn't know it was coming. You were looking the other way or what have you. So that's why I meant it falls into the situational awareness. So if it's from the rear, that's going to be tough. You'll see some of the raw footage that I'm going to show you now with the rear sucker punch. But a guy standing in front of you, you got to look for cues. Okay, is his stance? Does he go from completely facing you to side? Usually when they hit the side, you know an arm's coming, and you have to be able to work your blocks, not so much the traditional karate blocks, but the parries, hands crossed, scratching yourself in order to get the antennas or the block, or at least a way to diffuse the power. Now, even on a sucker punch situation, if you don't have the time to block, tightening your neck or covering up with the shoulder and head so that does not hit a vital point like the temple, maybe the top of your head. Some guys are real hard-headed. I'm Italian and Albanian, so I got the cabadosta. Sometimes if I get hit right here on the noggin, it doesn't do anything. But if I got hit on the temple or squarely on the jaw or right underneath the nose, that's going to do some damage. So you want to be cognizant of if an attack comes and I don't have the time to do a beautifully placed parry or what have you, I might just have a split second to use a flinching motion to defend myself. Sucker punch, defensive postures, and mentality. Rear attack, completely unsuspecting. How do you block that?
Of teenagers attacking random strangers. It's
See a
not
pattern here?
gang
Look at this
related.
guy with the
Teens are
briefcase.
playing-
Boom, hits his head on the curb. Look at this one here. Walking completely unsuspecting from the rear. Another one. See a pattern?
So hard, the
This
victim
one,
falls to the
direct
ground.
shot,
As the thief
standing in
steals
front of
his
the guy,
headphone.
angled. So, commandment number 4. How to throw basic punches, including head movement and footwork. Now, there's always the story about the multiple attacker. Or if, let's say you're in a bar and some guy comes up to you and his friend comes at you. You really, just as a person, not, I was going to say a man, but man, woman, whatever, you should be able to make a fist and throw more than one punch at a time with some degree of accuracy and be able to move your head and bob and weave. Because quite frankly, sometimes that's the most effective way to get out of a situation where they might be multiple attackers. Besides running and taking a guy and putting him between the other guys and what have you, you may just have to have the ability to take one or two guys out right away. So how to make a fist, throw a punch, hit a bag, all right? On my video, Mastering Hand Techniques, the Karate Boxing Connection, I get into all that. I mean, some guys can't make a fist. I mean, Mike Tyson, in a street fight, broke his hand when he hit Green, right? Broke his hand, right? Heavyweight champion of the world. You have to be cognizant of these things. So, head movement, bobbing and weaving, how to throw a 1, 2, 3 punch combination, and frankly, practicing these things, how to throw a basic punch, could help to some degree neutralize the sucker punch situation. Okay, in terms of being able to understand or read cues or telegraph, all right? If it gets that far, again, if it's a sucker punch from the rear, you know, that's a whole different situation, okay? So number 4 commandment, how to throw basic punches, including head movement and footwork.
You'll see how I compared the two and also integrated them and showed the different self-defense applications, conditioning, footwork, hand conditioning methods, shoulder strength.
Self-defense commandment number 5. Adult level physical attributes, strength, core, abs, flexibility, some cardio. Now, I'm not talking about Olympic level or you're riding 20, 30 miles a day, you're hitting the bag for an hour. When I say adult level, we have an obesity problem here. People smoke, drink. There are some out of shape, sorry people out there. And frankly, you're the targets. So you need to do some type of exercise, all right? The core in particular, not so much abs to withstand shots in the abs, but to be able to move quickly, your core has to be in pretty decent shape. That's why I say adult level, because I know toddlers that can take out some adults in the physical condition that they're in. So when I say adult level physical fitness, spend some time doing some stretches, a couple of sit-ups, maybe hit the bag, go for a run, walk fast, walk with some hand weights. But you need to do that. Breathing, physical fitness, all that stuff also goes back to the situational awareness type of situation. Become one with your body physically, and then it exudes spiritually to your environment. It's very simple. Adult level physical fitness. All right? Don't let a toddler beat the shit out of you.
Boxing or football even. The simplest of training devices are used, as well as solo training methods. Throw a kick higher than waist level. You'll get some of the most unique and effective training methods ever seen in the stretching area.
Okay, self-defense commandment number 6. This is where it starts getting somewhat interesting and a little bit more scientific. Vital points and correct weapon application. What I mean by that is you have soft targets, your throat, eyes, temple, groin. You can attack the joints. Hair pulling. In my case, I have the perfect defense against hair pulling. Eye gouging, groin strikes. You need to know what appropriate surface area, striking area applies to the soft target. You've seen the charts, you've seen the videos that highlight all the soft parts. If you look at one of my tapes, headbutts, eye gouging, and hair pulling, a scientific approach to street fighting, it's hard to train these things in the dojo. I can't train eye gouging in the dojo. But it could be an offshoot of, let's say, your boxing training, but you're using the appropriate striking weapon, whether it be a chicken beak type strike or a spear hand to the eyeball or a rake or a gouge. These things should all be studied intensely as a self-defense commandment here. So vital points and correct weapon application.
Notice this particular weapon is flat, so it is designed for attacking the throat area, unlike the fist, which is considerably thicker. So we're looking at a flat blade type weapon into the throat. Here's the tiger fist or the half fist with the palm up position. Very powerful. This is in sliding up and striking into the throat area. Now we're looking at the metacarpals strike. Again, this is also a very effective strike that can also lead into a single hand choke. I'm keeping my neck muscles firm here, and in a sense we say striking with the lower back when we work with headbutts. Here I'm demonstrating different heights, and the potential also is that the bag being mobile causes an accuracy dilemma here. I have to be able to be in control as I apply the headbutting techniques. Here we're looking at, again, what I described in the beginning from the lapel grab. Notice the trapping motion here can be done even with your eyes closed, or maybe in a grappling situation where your head's turned. Again, you'll notice here I'm trying to stabilize striking movements, and then I have to deal with the fact that he's on top. Grab the hair, eye socket, and then just concepts and drilling techniques on how to manipulate the head. When it comes to hair pulling, wherever the hair goes, the head must follow, and thus the rest of the body, which is ideal for parrying, strangling, and then takes with the headlock. But here, I'm using a controlling technique with the hair pull, clawing immediately, even using the hair pulling techniques that I described earlier. This is a favorite one. You see the arm coming over, hooking, getting ready for throws or striking techniques with the headgear on. Little combination there, leading off with the groin kick, grabbing, and then applying headbutting techniques.
Self-defense commandment number 7. Grappling fundamentals. Now, a whole genre of videos have come out on grappling right now, particularly with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which elevated judo or pre-war judo. Then you have combat wrestling, submission wrestling, ADC, no-gi, Abu Dhabi, and so forth and so on. But the concept here does go back to what I said in the beginning about being choked from the rear, or somebody grabs you by the throat or the lapel or your wrist. You should know basic movements on how to escape those moves or neutralize or nullify them so that you can get away or stop the opponent in his tracks. One of the things that should be focused on, particularly what I like to do in drills, is tackle drills. Somebody needs to know how to not get overwhelmed with the idea of somebody bum rushing you or coming in for a double leg tackle. I mean, we can get into the whole thing with, level changing and spinning off to the side, and where your hands go and how to. I mean, we're not doing amateur wrestling, or we're not competing in the next submission grappling championship. But you need to know things like sprawling, how to neutralize a tackle. Also from the rear, if you're being choked from the rear, how to regain your balance, how to use your foot for foot sweeps and things of that nature. My video series covers a lot of that stuff, but you can just go online and Google these particular areas. So, commandment number 7, grappling fundamentals, headlock, leg tackles, sprawls, chokes, grabs. You're mounted, right? That's the famous Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. You're mounted. You don't know what to do. Your hands are flailing. You have to learn by doing. In other words, by creating these scenarios and simulating them in your training, it helps you to be more comfortable should it happen in real life. And that's how professional fighters train. You have to immerse yourself in those situations, right? Grappling fundamentals, commandment number 7. Self-defense, commandment number 8, knife survival. This is probably one of the most sensitive topics. If you've ever seen a Filipino knife fighter or somebody who's understands the concept of the blade and the 12 angles and how to thrust, how to keep the knife away from the opponent so that they can continuously jab. There's a neat video out there. It's called Surviving Edged Weapons, on how prison inmates trained. They drilled on how to shank somebody. All right, they can use a toothbrush shaved down to a point. Anything, improvised weapons, a baseball cap with razor blades sewn to the rear, slicing your head up. What art is teaching to defend these things? So. The most important thing, I think, in the knife survival is you can work on all the defenses and techniques and so forth and so on, but it's vital point protection. If you've ever watched medical shows or reports or these law and order type deals where somebody was stabbed or nearly stabbed to death, 20, 30, 40 stabs, most of them were done either in non-vital areas or the person, the stab was in the hand, or they were covering up their neck and their head. So when you think about it, just like in Jiu-Jitsu grappling, where you're covering your neck, you're holding the lapel and defend against it, you need to be able to protect yourself should you have gotten into that situation, that deep, where somebody's regularly stabbing you. Now, you'll see some of the clips that I put on from security cameras and so forth. I mean, some guys do come down, you know, with the standard movie-style stab or the deep lunge. You have a better shot there, but you should also be looking at improvised weapons. Grab a flower, a vase, a chair. If you have a jacket, get it around your arm so at least you can deflect some of the slashes while you figure out how I can escape or neutralize them with a vital point strike or something. That to me is very valuable information. A shoe on your hand, a jacket wrapped around, grabbing a chair, a coat hanger, anything that can work to your benefit. So, knife survival. One of the ways I used to practice with that, we would put goggles on and use either a piece of styrofoam or a rubber knife, and one side would just start slashing the shit out of his training partner. Didn't matter. I didn't want to look at any rhyme or reason or particular technique. I wanted you to understand, you know, how do you think in a situation like that, and then switch the other side would, and then we might try to pick reoccurring situations and learn how to neutralize that. But it's very hard to do the static, choreographed knife fighting defense techniques. But once you start researching it, drilling an unnatural slicing and dicing, you know, in your workouts, you'll start developing hopefully a little bit of confidence, so that just the view of a knife doesn't overwhelm you and cause you to lose your ability to think straight in that situation. No mass shooter in this Dunkin' Donuts, just your friendly neighborhood customer stabbing an employee, young teenager.
You see the man in black hoodie. He walks up to this woman, approaches the woman.
Look at how long it takes this guy to take the knives out. It's amazing. 2 knives. This woman was stabbed dozens of times. You know how she survived? She fought back. She got up. Look at this. She didn't go back. She went forward.
He then covers his face before stabbing a 67-year-old man in his chest, head, and stomach. In the video released by the NYPD, he then stabbed him, also 67, in his chest and back. Then he snatched...
It's easy to do Monday morning quarterbacking, but This is, I guess, some politician. And what's ironic is this guy is handing him flowers in order to distract him. He swings his satchel around and actually pulls out the knife. This is amazing. The lack of situational awareness here. This is pretty scary when you think about it. Just watch this. Unbelievable. He survived that, thank God. All right, we're almost there. Self-defense commandment number 9, leg kicks, low line attacks. That also includes kicking while on the ground. This is particularly true for women in rape situations. Now, I've seen some instruction where a woman could draw someone in using her guard, right, and arm lock or do a triangle choke. I'm a little apprehensive about that. It could work, or they can use the person's shirt or t-shirt or jacket to apply a gi choke or lapel choke on the perpetrator. But you have low line kicks, the standard Muay Thai kicks to the thigh, but you redirect them to the groin or the knee joint, which is technically not even legal in some leg kick oriented like knockdown tournaments. You can't attack the knee joint directly. On my low kicks 1 and 2 tape, you'll see a whole arsenal of how to totally demolish the low line level, okay, with low kicks, and also working how to kick off of your back. So this combined with the grappling fundamentals and also the how to throw punches, again, just make you cognizant of the ranges, right? What are we actually talking about now? We're talking about striking range and so forth and so on. I always say there's an unlimited number of fighting ranges. I would like to, personally, I would love to win a fight at sniper range. If I can actually take someone out from 1,000 yards with a sniper rifle, and that was my enemy, to me that's the safest, right? Then I work it back to jump kicking range or stone throwing range. And then obviously you have, the infighting, hands. Even with hands, you have wrists. You can hit with the forearm, right? And then headbutting, knees and elbows, and then obviously throws and takedowns. So when I mean ranges, you got to really understand the low kicks, low line attack level. Last but not least important, I call it what's in your EDC. What's EDC? Everyday carry, your toolkit. Now, for some states like New York and New Jersey, it's virtually impossible to get an everyday carry permit. I've looked into it. It's very hard to get a firearm in some states. But not that the firearm is the be-all and end-all of self-defense. You cannot walk around with a gun holstered like they did in the Wild West, okay, cowboy-like. That's how management used to be in the Bronx back in the 70s. Some landlords used to carry their guns holstered there while they dealt with tenants. But what's in your EDC? I keep it simple. I have a multi-tool here. It's pretty cool. It's heavy. I can use the weapon itself. It's a knife, but it's come in handy for a lot of reasons, but even the physical weight of it can help improve my striking power. I can use it as a Yawara bow to hit the pressure areas to break a grip or something like that. But you have to be careful sometimes. Certain venues will, I've had 1 or 2 of these confiscated from me because I wasn't allowed in, and they basically disarmed me at the time. So multi-tool weighted. Baton, this is a little bit more sensitive. Sometimes I carry this. I'm in commercial real estate. I work in a lot of urban areas. I might find myself in precarious situations. I carry this with me a lot of times, my multi-tool. What's another interesting one is the tactical flashlight. You see the beveled edges there for striking, but more importantly, this thing could take somebody's eyeballs out. This is about 1,100 lumens. The concept here is to disorient the person if you have a chance. Or again, you could strike with this thing, but you'd be surprised at the light. And again, just for practical purposes, I like to keep the flashlight with me. And my kids think this is corny, but whenever I can, I walk around with a steel-toed boot. This thing is pretty ominous. It's big, so if I have to go to a more formal venue, and my kids love this, they think that this is me becoming more formal, I have a sneaker with a steel toe boot. Looks a little bit more stylish, or a hard-tipped shoe. So these are the things that you have to think about. in your self-defense arsenal. It's not going to be 5 magic tricks on how to stop somebody from attacking you. It's a esoteric situation with situational awareness and so forth. Then you got to get into the practical, how to choke someone out and neutral and stop and nullify an attack because of an adrenaline rush or something like that. Sucker punching, you got to be able to study posture and persons flinching. That you can do that from sparring and practice. How to throw basic punches, adult level physical fitness, vital points and correct weapon application. When I mean weapon application, I mean from your unarmed weapons and hands. Grappling fundamentals, this is huge. You know, the whole idea that a fight only stands for 90% of the time it goes to the ground, but I would say 99.9% of the time it starts standing. Knife survival, how to understand your vital points and keeping them away from the edge of that knife. Leg kicks and low line attacks, and then ultimately, how do you prepare yourself with tools that you will not get arrested for on the street walking around. Again, if you've liked the material, please share this link with somebody special that you know. Follow me, and I always appreciate your support and positive comments. Us.